Hey guys, and welcome back. We apologize for the late start. Some technical issues. We'll leave it at that. We're gonna go ahead and get into this. I'm Tyler, your host, and with me today we have beside me is Mr. Chris. He will be with me talking about the different topics for today. We got a few things we want to get through and talk about with you. Um, Starting with the bodies of water. Bodies of water for Missouri are made up majority of rivers and their tributaries, so creeks and spillways, things like that, and then lakes and ponds. For Missouri, the three biggest ones here on the east side that we have that we can fish that are close to us usually are going to be the Mississippi, the Merrimack, and the Missouri. Um, How's it going? Sorry about that. And for those of you guys that are watching this later on either the podcast on either Patreon or later, we do have the live chat open, so we will be chatting with people along the way as we go. So if you hear me kind of squirrel brain for a moment, you know why. On top of that, brain ain't braining, so this is gonna be fun. Um, but yeah, talking about the bodies of water, we have three major rivers that flow. We also have the big river. It's a little bit south of us, but we could still technically get to that one. We have the Merrimack, the Mississippi, and the Missouri are our three biggest rivers that run through our area that we fish. Um, Fishing things like the Mississippi can be fun on the banks. You can still get some decent fish, channel cats, things like that. But if you're looking to fight the really big fish, like the big blues, things like that, that's definitely going to be in the deeper swells of the river, which is out more towards the middle and in certain areas. Finding areas to fish on the Mississippi can be a little tough at times especially because a lot of major infrastructure buildings and things are along our area. It can be kind of difficult, and we're not the kind of guys that want to go trying to get trespassed for breaking into an area just to go fish. Um, but you've got the Merrimack, which is one that we fish quite often. We've hit a couple different spots to include Castlewood State Park. There's a few other good spots that we've hit and that we've fished at. But we tried one this last Wednesday, and with as much rain as we've been getting and the rivers being up, it kind of cut off a large chunk of our um, river space for us to fish. So we weren't able to get to those quite as well as we would have liked to have. Um, Not to mention it was like 93 degrees, but we'll get into that here in a minute when we talk about ponds. The Missouri is another good one. That one kind of runs from east to west, while the Mississippi is our borderline between us and Illinois for the most part. Um, Running down the east side of the state of Missouri. It's also one of the larger rivers that we have. Um, and then you have the I already said Merrimack, didn't I? Yeah, Mac in Missouri. I've already talked about them. Lake wise, there are a few good lakes. Table Rock Lake has one. There's Lake St. Louis has the giant lake. That's a little more north of us, though. Bush Wildlife has a bunch of man-made lakes, which are pretty solid. They have different lakes for different kinds of fish. They kind of segregate some of it out at times. Some spots might have more of just bass or crappie, while others are kind of universal, like Lake 33, the one that we have in our video, that showcases a mixture. Now, given it, when I say lake, it is by definition a larger body of water, meaning it's going to have a wider berth. But as far as depth goes, for Lake 33, it in most places was no more than between 10 to 15 foot deep.
Um, their their informational page says Lake 33 is about 4 to 6 feet deep at natural, and then when you get towards the dam, it gets up to 12.
That would explain why you're able to stick a rod down and and still have plenty of room.
Yeah. Yes, we
But
did.
Yeah,
And
that's the spot that we tried to go to, and with the waters being up, we went to that spot. It was just you see it wasn't that it was too shallow. It was more or less that with the waters being up, the shallow portions that we could get out that would have put us towards the deeper channels of the Merrimack were completely underwater. It was flooded, and fishing from the bankside, you were right up in the trees. So I mean, every cast you run the risk of snagging into something. And then the few spots that we could get out to were where it was at that throat that we saw on the map, and it was just it was shallow in those spots. Casting out, we were snagging, or we just weren't getting deep enough to where fish were going to sit, especially when the temperature was 93 degrees. Even in running water, it's still going to be really warm. The fish aren't going to be as active. They're definitely a lot more active between the temperatures of like 60s and 70s. Um, but yeah, with it being 93 and feeling like 102 with humidity, and that's above the water, it just wasn't. Oh, shallow for Lake 33. Yeah,
yes,
yeah, it was extremely shallow. But in our video, you can actually see not Chris, Mo catches three catfish, three channels that are of decent size. So I mean, even though it's a shallow lake, um, it had some good spots. They had a lot of lily pad coverage to kind of help with cooling and coverage and protection for the fish. And that's kind of where we were fishing, and we hit those. On the far side near the dam and near the little the dock point that they had, their little awning that's out in the water. I don't even know what to call it. I keep wanting to call it a marina, but you can't really tie a boat off and get off there. It's
like a
like a
floating dock.
it's like yeah, like a little floating dock you could fish from. Just above it is a good crappie spawn. Um, it's a good little crappie spawn. They've got a decent spot for crappie there. They had what was I talking? Chris, I'm gonna let you talk about the Merrimack spot for a minute. He's got to go to the bathroom.
The one we
So
were just at.
yeah, you can talk a little bit
Okay.
about it and what we experienced while we were out there. I'm gonna put you on full.
All right. So the attempt that we made for the new spot that we showed on the map last week, the bank would have been a good spot to hit that deeper channel right off the edge of it had it not been flooded. But I mean, there was a good 20 to 30 feet of shoreline that was just cut off from us. And tossing some of our smaller rods out, we're hitting maybe not even a foot of water because it's just all flooded over the land there. The only thing we were able to get out were our king cat rods. The king cats were still, even then, maybe hitting 6 to 10 foot of water. We weren't really producing the strength that we needed to get out into that channel where you could see where everything slimmed down to that channel pocket right after that bridge. No, so it's from rain. Um, the Merrimack, when you get out toward it, the further south you go, um, rain kind of kills it. So there's a dam far up north of the Merrimack, and whenever it rains, the water just trickles down way faster. Um, so the more southern areas will get a lot of flooding. It doesn't even have to rain. We're here in the St. Louis area. It doesn't even have to rain here in St. Louis. If it rains even up north of the Merrimack, the entire river is going to flood. And we've been getting 3 to 8 inches of rain every single time it rains. And up north, it's just producing so much water coming down the line that, I mean, if you're looking at the Merrimack right now, it's probably up a good 8 feet of water coming up over the spillways of where it is naturally. Um, it's it makes it unmanageable, unfortunately. And he's back.
Yeah, I'm here for just a moment. Let me go ahead and pop us back over to us chatting. Sorry.
Yeah,
Lily had to go to the bathroom.
it's huge amount of additional water, but when you get to an area like where we were looking at, where that raised island was, the only thing it does is take away the lower bits of the island. Because when we got out there, we noticed that island does a huge, like, there's a platform here, dips down very deep into like a little valley, and then flattens back off and raises up a little bit. So we're out there. We've got this little path here. It comes down and out like this, and then flattens off again. Tyler was even actually able to walk through up to about the top of his boot to this little exposed portion of the island that we could have gone and fished from, and we would have been in the pocket. It is a safety concern to do that. Of course, an inch of rushing water is enough to carry you away, and we're looking at ankle deep water. Um, I mean, higher than ankle deep water. We're looking at maybe a foot or two of water that's just rushing through. And when another issue for the Merrimack when it floods is debris. There's a lot of debris in the Merrimack. A lot of tree branches, a lot of heavy trees, logs, everything in there will just rush in and crash everything. Um, so that creates a huge problem for us as well, especially for us too, because we naturally fish the Merrimack. It's the closest thing to home for us guys. Um, those giant logs become a problem. They run into your line, they mess up your spot, they try to drag your bait away, and one of those hitting your line can just, that preemptive strike drags your bait across the bottom so hard that you just lose the bait that's on your hook and you're gone. And then you got to reel it back in, you got to rebait it, you got to try to launch it back out to that spot again. And I mean, like I said earlier, with where we tried, where on that map, we were still a good 20 plus feet away from where that channel was, from where we could get to safely. So we just couldn't launch out to it. It stinks when the Merrimack floods. It does raise the water level for you to get to some normally shallower areas. Um, yeah, it's constant readjusting. But like, there's chances when the Merrimack floods that you can get to some of the shallower areas, like one of the areas that would be naturally shallower for us would be what's called the Minnehaha Park. The waters are up. It's a little bit easier to fish there. The problem is how rocky that area is, and it's not, like pebble or natural rock sized rocks. These are boulders that are in this water for you to snag on every second.
Yeah, just to touch on what Chris was saying, like I went out there in the middle of that thing, which, not my brightest
He
pictures,
got some wet socks.
soggy feet. But, it comes with the territory. But yeah, even getting out there, it was just the flow. You could tell by the flow that was cutting around where I was at was just moving way too fast. Um, Even dropping my bait, on my larger lines would have been just basically free flowing. I would have had to use stuff that rigs that I would have been trying to use for, say, the Mississippi, because the Mississippi, she's a dastardly one.
Yes,
Just
but
my
in
mic
order,
volume, you say, sir?
in
Sure.
order to help us kind of segue here a little bit, when we're going up to that Merrimack and that flooded spot, like I said, there's a good, what would you say, like 15 to 20 feet of that island that's missing due to that flood.
Yeah.
When you're trying to launch out and you're using a medium action rod with, 10-pound line that can hold maybe a couple ounces of weight on it. So it's kind of smaller rod, medium action. I can maybe launch this thing 6 to 8 feet out. I couldn't even clear the island. So we're sitting here. This is going to be sitting there trying to catch a fish in maybe 2 feet of water. It's not going to help us much if we can't launch past the island.
I was just bringing the camera up so they could take a closer look at
Yeah,
your
I
rig.
was. It's a little harder to do in my situation because I'm in a very cramped room. So yeah, I got a small little medium action compact rod, to which it's not the proper rod for what I have geared on this. This would be considered a compact rod, um, mainly for small catfish. Medium action can have about 14-pound line on it.
Yeah, medium action's good for kind of it's a all purpose. You can use that one for multiple multiple species. It's a good kind of all
Yeah.
around starter rod. Medium action is where I'd tell most people to start.
And then, like you can see, I have a little whiptail, kind of rooster tail situation here with the minnow. It's got a little blue minnow head on it. It's got its little spinner. It's got a size 1 treble hook on it down here. And, we spin this through the water. This is what we use for getting our bluegill and the bass that we like to try to catch, the crappie. Um, the problem with having this one for doing that is it's a two-piece. So it does like to try to slide out right here, and I've had to, push it back in a lot of times. I've
Like a
had it
crappie
come
rod.
out. Yes. The single piece would be better for kind of top water stuff that we're
For
trying to do.
finessing, yeah.
Yeah. This being a two-piece does make it a little bit harder. But, this thing was 20 bucks at Walmart. And
Kind
thanks to Tyler, well, we'll show you guys here what Tyler did for me. I broke the I broke the drag
of.
on the original reel that came with it because I went to go tighten it. I went one click too far, and it just went click. And you could sit there and spin that thing forever, and it would never really tighten down. It would get a little tight, but you couldn't fully tighten it. So
And
Tyler gave me a nice little.
even a bluegill would hit it and run his drag out like it was a monster fish.
I just hit the ceiling fan with my tip of my rod.
Don't do that.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. So Tyler got me this nice little. Uh,
It's
it's
a
a
Bass Pro.
royal something, but it's a good little reel. Now I have a red, white, and blue reel combo set up.
He's patriotically ready for the 4th of July.
Yes.
But last thing to get on the ponds, and then we'll get into all the actual gear and tackle and such, and the kind of things that I recommend and the kind of things that Chris recommends for setups and such. But we were talking about lakes. Ozarks is another big one. That's actually one of our biggest set of lakes that we have. It's a bunch of medium to small lakes and a couple of big lakes that are all kind of connected via um, like tributarial creeks and flow throughs. I can't call them a river because they're not really a river, but they're all kind
Still
of
ways.
spillways in a sense, in a sense, but they're all kind of connected to each other. Um, but that one is probably one of the most known because it has the largest access to a bunch of different species. Everything from the paddlefish, catfish of all different variations, bass of multiple variations, crappies, bluegills, you name it. Um, they're all active there. Real low volume on me. I've got the thing all the way up, so
Are you sure it's operating? It's operating out of your boom, right?
Yeah, it says it's on the Yeti. My audio's at max decibel too. Maybe it's just the way the mic's sitting. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking to the wrong angle of it because I know I've got this thing set up to do all sorts of fun stuff, and I think I've got it set on the wrong angle. We'll fix that
You
later.
said volume fixed.
Ah,
When it comes to lakes, when I looked up the information about Lake 33, we might want to try Lake 35.
mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's got some good muskies in it.
Muskies. Ooh. That's something we don't normally see. That's more northern Missouri, so having that out towards us would be something to try for as well. That's a lot of top water and probably some live bait. You probably want to use some minnows on that one.
Yep.
Definitely something to look into when we take another bush trip. Um, these
Ooh,
ooh
muskies.
muskies. Um, Next thing on our list, we're gonna get into to the gear real quick, and then we're gonna do a little history. We're just gonna kind of talk around about our history with fishing, how long we've been doing it, who got us into it, all that fun stuff.
Oh no.
Um, and go from there. And then we've got some do's and don'ts on gear, which I'll tie into the gear rigs as we go. Sorry, I've got my brain literally on a notepad for me so I can remember. Um, and we'll just kind of discuss stuff from there. So for the kinds of things that we fish for, there's different kinds of setups that you'll run. Chris has kind of already given you a rundown of one of his medium setups that he uses for a lot of his top water and mid water play, swim bait play, stuff like that. But he can also transition because again, it's a good universal. Medium is a great universal rod that you can utilize for any kind of play. Anything from just tossing a hook and a bobber to dropping a sinker to running, depending on the kind of reel, because your reel and gear ratio are going to depend on how quick it retrieves, but can also be used in finessing for. Okay. Um, can also be used for like finessing for bass and other things if direly necessary or if you really want to. It's a good universal play rod. I still have to bring out Billy Bass. I have yet to show everybody Billy Bass. I just looked over while I was looking at my rods, and it just made me think about it. Yeah, again, it's great universal, and it usually has a solid action as well. So aside from being medium as far as for power, your action is going to be what dictates where in the rod it bends. So it kind of tells you um, that where what kind you'd use. So fast or slow actions are usually going to bend more towards the upper half. Sorry, I'm getting easily distracted here. Slows are going to bend usually towards like the upper quarter of it, and that kind of tells you it's on the verge of like for your light fish. So it's great for light fish and like treble hook lures, things like that. Your moderate, which is going to be what his is going to bend also towards the top, but not quite. It's gonna be just a smaller segment of it that really kind of is your bend. That's going to be your usual universal. Fast action in the upper thirds. That's your bass rods and things like that are going to be a little flimsy towards the top, and that's for finessing and for casting. And then your extra fast, which is going to bend to the very top. It gives you the best feel for most bites, as well as your best control, really, when it comes to fighting anything from small fish to a big fish, which is what most of the larger rods are going to do. So your cat rods, a lot of those guys are going to be faster, extra fast rods. You've already had dinner, girl. So I'm gonna break out a couple of my different setups that I've got, and we'll discuss them as we go.
So like for while he's doing that, guys, this medium route that I have, it's not an extreme fast, but it's a semi fast. Normally, it's with the fast ones you'd be seeing like just right here, Ben. Mine here you'll see it comes down to more here when it starts its bend.
So this is gonna be really fun to try and show these off on my
I
small
know,
space. See these
bro,
babies.
you have a larger space than me, so
Not with my green screen. I'd have to pop that bad boy back to give a little more space, which I might end up doing just so that way I can put the green screen up just because I've got children's with lots of mess and whatnot. So I'm just scoot my chair back so I can sit back and show you. This one here is a two-piece. This is a 10-foot King Cat. It's a Bass Pro King Cat rod. Has their King Cat reel as well. Runs says its max run is about a 30 pound line, but I mean you can usually skosh up a little bit higher than what they recommend if you really need to. But in most cases, 30 pounds pretty solid for most of the fish you're probably going to run into, especially out here. But yeah, 10-foot rod, and right now I've got her collapsed with everything on her. And for this specific model or this specific rig and setup, this is strictly my river rod for the most part. So I leave it as a river rod setup. I throw this thing way out. This thing has great casting capability for literally I think 50, 60 bucks out at Bass Pro. But I mean, when you're talking being able to basically catapult bait halfway into a river, like this is a great setup for that. And most of the guys made fun of me at first, but now Alex
we
has
all
one
own
and
one.
Chris has one. But it's essentially it's a shore rod for like ocean fishing in a sense, but for catfish. For my setup that I've got here, it's gonna be kind of hard to showcase most of it, but it's got 25-pound standard test mono to which came with the rod, which was really kind of neat. Is it's it came fully kitted, like it was a full combo, rod, reel, line, everything was all for 50, 60 bucks. But most fishermen I talk to, especially your cat fishermen, will tell you your upper half of your line, the stuff that goes to your reel, that you probably want to go with braid because braid runs with better tensile strength. And then you'll use a liter of monofilament to. So this way, I'm not using terms that people may not understand because again, we are about education. Some people may not understand some of the slang terms or the shortened abbreviations for things, so we're going to use full full name. So monofilament, which is a thicker plastic line, but it's more stretchy. It can take a lot more hits and can be more durable. It's more rugged against things like rocks and whatnot. A surf rod. That's it. That's the term I was looking for. Thank you. Surf rod is essentially what it is. Below it, I have a slip line for sinker weights, which comes with this nice little clip. I can just pop a new sinker on depending on the amount of weight I want to do. Depending on what kind of river and current I'm facing, I might start out with a 4 ounce and bump all the way up if I'm on the Mississippi to 12, 14 ounces if I want to drop it dead where it's at in the river. Which people always think, and Mo used to give me crap about it when I first was throwing in spots like the Missouri and the Merrimack. I'd be throwing 6 to 8 ounces of weight in there to make sure my bait drops and stays. He's like, you don't need that much bait. And I'm like, dude, if you want your bait to actually stay, because these rivers out here have strong undercurrents. That's a big thing that people don't realize. That's why, especially for the Merrimack, you see a lot of signs that say no swimming or wading, is because it's not the top that worries people. It's the faster rushing water underneath that people don't realize, and it will sweep you under and drag you, before you even realize it, a good, quarter mile to a mile downstream before you even have a chance. So it's on a metal braid, essentially, for the slip, so that way it's a lot more durable, a lot more rugged. My weight's not going anywhere. Then below that, I have 50-pound monofilament as well as my leader, which is a leader is essentially a 6 inch to a foot, depending on how you are, setup that will be your run. This is the portion that's going to see the most action if a fish is trying to break you off, which is why people usually recommend monofilament. Above here, within that leader, I have a rattle. It's a spin rattle here. This is designed to make sound and propel, similar to the one that Chris has on his over there. It's designed to make noise and essentially add to the idea of being a fluttering fish or a distressed fish or something that draws catfish in. they feel the vibrations of water. Like, what could that be? And they show up. Further down my line, we have my float. This portion here is different than what most people would say for, like, say, a bobber. This one here is designed as a cigar float. It will basically elevate my bait from the weight itself. It'll elevate the bait up to that good 6-inch striking distance, 6 to 12-inch striking distance, which is great because it'll raise it up just in that perfect zone where the catfish usually are scanning across the bottom, um, sensing for bait, sensing for food. And then towards the end here, on the end of this braided portion, I have a 2-aught circle hook, which circle hooks are great for catfish because, again, you don't have to, it's not like a bass. You're not trying to set the hook. When you're setting a hook on a catfish, you don't want to rip it because a lot of times you'll just yank the bait right out their mouth. A lot of times you want them to kind of eat it and swim. And what's cool about the way catfish work and the way to set on a catfish is all you need to do is just come up nice and slow and hard. Not fast, but just hard. And as he's swimming, it'll slowly pull in that circle as it's coming around his lip as he's going. Will then latch in and catch on the side of the mouth. Yep. So yeah, this is one of my biggest of my cat rods. Alex spoiled me for Father's Day / just all around being a cool friend, and got me this other really cool cat rod that I've got. It's a little smaller. It's a 7'6" rod. I get to go into the difference between a spinning reel and a bait caster as well, because I get to talk about that a little bit. So, for my other heavy rigs that I use, I have these two big gals here. The one on my right, this one is kind of my universal play rod. This is a 7'6" Mad Cat rod. I got our Pro Cat. I got this one by itself. It's a one piece, so it's a fixed rod. There's no takedown or breakdown, so it stays as it is. This one I usually will just toss a couple sets of weights. I'll throw on a sinker by itself. I really don't do a whole lot for this one. And then I tie off a stink bait lure. So essentially it's a tube with a sponge and a treble hook. And I'll use stink bait, which is a super smelly peanut butter paste like substance. Some of them can be cheese baits, blood baits. I use a Catfish Charlie's blood bait, and last season I got a lot of hits on it. This season it's been kind of slow, but works great for me. And then as for my reel, I went a little hog wild when I had some extra money, and I bought the Abu Garcia Ambassador Catfish Special. Essentially, it's like a trolling reel, but it's a bait caster in a sense. So it works a little different than a spinning reel. Those that aren't familiar with the difference between a spinning and a bait caster is spinning is more vertical designed and is a cast and retrieve, can actually cast a lot further, while a bait caster is designed to feed from the side and have direct access to our drag from the side here. With a spinning reel like that one, you have to open the bail, hold your line, so on. This one, I press my thumb to the bait caster, flip the switch, and then send it. Another major difference that a lot of people won't, or a lot of people are probably familiar with it if they've ever considered bait casters, is the dreaded bird's nesting or rat's nest, whatever you want to call it. Basically, with a spinning reel, you run into this a lot less because your line is feeding vertical. This one's feeding horizontal, so it runs the drag a lot, or the reel itself a lot quicker. So you have to kind of temperament your brakes on this system. But a lot of times people will cast and it will backlash. It'll go too quickly and feed too much, and then it'll snag on itself, and then you just have to work it out, which there's a simple solution for that. It just takes some practice. You want to lower your drag a little bit, but still have tension to it, and then just start pulling your line slowly. And that will slowly feed out that backlash and help you get your rod back into, or your reel back into working condition. But yeah, that's my Pro Cat. Then my other one I have, I want to drag this girl out because this is my new baby, my new pride and joy, thanks to Alex. So big shout out to Alex for this one. He didn't have to go out and get me this, but he's heard me talk about this thing and wanting one for a while. And he decided that, you know what, I'm going to and he did, and you know, it was kind of a thank you gift, I guess, for everything that we do with getting him out fishing. But again, he didn't have to, and normally I would say no and tell him no, but he had already bought the thing and got it in, and he wasn't really going to give me much of a choice. He's like, "You're taking it with you one way or another." This one here has been a dream of mine since I found out about these things. Mo and I talked about them in the beginning, and then I introduced Chris to it and everybody else. This is the Catch the Fever Hellcat Revenge rod, and from everything I've seen about these things, they are phenomenal. And just playing with it, I've been really impressed with the overall performance. Um, Again, I'm not a person that's going to sit here and try and tell you you need this, because that's not me. You could get away, and goes into my do's and don'ts. Don't, if you're getting into fishing, just go out and be like, I need the premium gear, I need the best stuff, because a lot of times, if you're, it's just like anything else. Um, if you go and buy, something but don't know how it works, you're just going to end up spending a bunch of money and probably get pissed at it and put it to the side and never use it again. I can tell you from firsthand experience, and Chris can tell you from firsthand experience, and I'm sure Alex could tell you from firsthand experience. Just getting out there, and even if you go to Walmart and you buy yourself a little $30 rod or $40 rod, and just kind of get yourself used to the idea of fishing, if that's something you're into, this is what I would recommend. Just go out and do that, because you don't need the mumbo jumbo hyper fancy stuff. If you become a lot more into it and this becomes a full-time hobby, and you decide, hey, this is what I want, then by all means, if you've got the means to do so and the funds and such. Xander, can you get me a water bottle, please? Um,
Like my blue Walmart rod here that I've showed off a little bit already. This thing is caught catfish,
I'll say
gar,
it's slayed many a
bluegill,
fish. You don't
crappie,
need the top
a
tier stuff.
mini
Now,
of
are there
drum.
perks? Are there perks to having higher end equipment? Of course, just like anything else, you pay more, you're going to get a little bit more. But is it something that you direly need? No. But because I'm a huge fan of fishing, I spend a lot of time doing this. I've put a little bit of extra money into some of my stuff. I will never be one to sit here and tell you like this one is better than this one. I'm not going to sit here and say Daiwa is better than Abu, or lose is better than this. Like, I'm not going to sit here and ever try and sell you stuff. I'm not a salesman. That's not my job with this. My job is teaching you the basics of fishing, things of that nature, and just showing you some of the different kinds of stuffs that are out there. Now, again, this is me just kind of showcasing what I have. We've got a guy that we've talked to for quite some while that we met out fishing, and he'll sit there and tell you the same thing. You don't need to go and spend, you know, hundreds, thousands of dollars on fishing gear. Um, you could spend, the minimal amount. I'd say probably get a good setup and get everything you need. You're probably looking at between $50 to $100, and you're set for depending on how you fish, a few good fishing trips, a few good runs, or you may have to get more tackle or something. You don't have to buy.
And then I have another medium rod that I use. This is my Real Tree catfish rod, another medium action. She is 7 foot, fast action. She's got the white tip on her to show off, for the catfish rods. They will normally have the white tip to them, because that is the part of them that will bend whenever they have a fish on them. And that's the part that you want to watch. Also makes it easier to see because it's pure white. This one's got 20-pound line on it. I think this reel can hold up to 25 or 30, but it's $70. Got it really cheaply. Love this rod. This is my first big catfish rod that I ever got. And then this is gonna be a workout in my tiny little room here.
Well, he's digging that out. The last thing I really want to get into about this Hellcat is just his performance. We were talking about actions and their their power with the design behind Hellcat, which was what caught my attention the most about this, is that it almost down to the hilt itself has the capability of being able to bend fairly well. So it's kind of a hybrid of the action of the different powers and actions on how it's going to bend. This one here is a medium action, but can easily, if I really got lucky, could slay 140-pound cat with little effort. It's a great rod, but again, not something I'm trying to sit here and tell you you have to have. You don't need to go out and spend the money on something like this unless it's something that you're like dead set on. Just like guys that buy guns or people who buy cars. If you're first getting into it, you're not going to go out and buy a staccato right off the bat. You're not going to go out and buy a Maserati as your first car and tune it and tweak it yourself and worry about possibly tearing up your car or ruining your gun. You're not going to go out and buy high end gear and run the risk of tearing it up or mismatching because these don't come with combos. It's the rod, you put the rest together. You learn how to do everything yourself. But I mean, for what it is, it's great. But it's definitely something. It's an addiction, 100% an addiction. I know, I'm the same way. Um, but yeah, this one for my cat rod is, and I have not. Before Alex sits here and thinks that I went and used it, I have not used this yet because I told myself after he got it, and Chris can vouch for me on this, that this rod will not be used by me until Alex catches a fish on it and christens it. Because Alex, those that know from our previous videos, Alex has been struggling since last season on catching any kind of fish. They don't like him for some reason. But the game plan is that come either July 1st when we go out fishing or July 4th for the fishathon, Alex is going to be using the Hellcat Revenge. And once he slays his first fish on this and it gets christened, then and only then am I allowed to start playing with this cool new rod. But since he spent the money on it, I want him to get the first taste, first play, and get to enjoy this rod for everything that it is. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put this away and get ready to show you my top water slash kind of universal rod that I play with.
So while he does that, I'll talk about my last rod, but it's not technically my last rod. Like he stated earlier, I also have a King Cat rod. I'm not about to break out a 10-foot rod in my house right now. So this one is also a 7 foot 6 inch long rod. Big old boy. This is an Atlas rod. This one cost me about $80 for just the rod, about another 50 to 60 for the Zebco reel that I have on here. But this is a fast action, extra heavy for power. So this one is not going to move very much at all. The first catfish that ever took this one down, it barely moved. It budged a little bit. She's a tough one. But I specifically went and got this because I wanted an extra heavy. Um, I can't bust out the big strict. My room is way too small for that. Um, but mainly I wanted to go with this one because I wanted an extra heavy or a heavy, and this was the only thing that they had at the time. But I loved the color of this. The green just kind of was calling out to me. I love the design on it. Line weight wise, this thing can go up to 80-pound braid or 50-pound mono. It currently has 20-pound mono on it right now. So it didn't come with anything. It was just a rod, just like his Hellcat. I bought the Zebco reel to go with it, which came pre-spooled with 20 on it.
Again, 20 can go a long way. You don't really need to
Yeah,
go with crazy heavy line unless you're out there fighting Moby Dick every day, but good luck.
which the little blue rod there that's got the 10-pound line on it, that thing is reeled in some massive gar. Massive gar. You can see one of them in the video that we ended up losing because he broke off the hook. We showed that in the video, but
Broke the hook, okay?
no, he broke off with the hook. But the point is that thing's got 10-pound line on it, and I pulled in maybe a 15 to 20-pound gar. Sucker was huge.
All right, and the next piece that I wanted to show you guys real quick for my rods. Oof, hit my microphone.
Why don't you put yourself on the single screen?
Because I'm not cool. I guess I could. Can I do that? Oh, I can. Aha! Hi guys. Up close and personal now. This one here is my Abu Garcia Max Black. It's just a basic spinning reel that I got. Came with the Abu Max Black. It's a combo kit. Bought it at Walmart for like $40, I think. 30, 40 bucks. But it's got 14-pound line on there because that's kind of the best you can do with something like this. It is I think a medium action, if I remember correctly. Yeah, medium action rod. It's a little 6-footer. So this is the kind of rod you would use, especially in like heavy brush and such, and tight corners, small spaces, things like that that you're trying to run. Ellie, please. You don't need it. I've got a buzzbait on here right now that I've been playing with. It's a Booyah buzzbait, but I flip out to different types of top water baits when I want to play with this thing. Everything from a rooster tail to frogs, you name it. It's good for finessing. Good little rod overall. But yeah, you guys had been asking about this stuff. This is the kind of stuff that we run. I do want to kind of brush past this because this isn't just a show and tell of like, hey, these are. We're gonna edit that out, right? No.
We're live.
Smack the crap out of my ceiling with it. We're gonna get to the actual good stuff. So we did a little show and tell, a little talking about the different stuff that we run, and went from there. Ellie, what?
While he's dealing with the children, this is a rooster tail. It's kind of like that whiptail I showed you guys, except for having the
minnow's head instead of a
minnow's head. It's just got a circular tube on it, and it's got its little spoon here still. Which this one lost all of its paint for some reason. Normally some of these spoons are painted. I'm gonna see if I have any that are. No, okay. None of the ones I have are painted. Okay. So like the whiptail one that I showed you guys, it has a painted spinner on it. Spinner just kind of reflects the light underwater, kind of distracts the fish and says, hey, let's go for that. And then the other thing I was showing you guys was our float rig setup. It's got the hook, the bobber, the spinning rattle on it and everything. And that's the leader line right there going all the way up into that swivel. That would be what you would want to attach to a braided line in order to, make sure that you would have better strength against like rocks or anything that a catfish would drag you down into.
All right. Lastly, do's and don'ts for fishing. Obviously, we talked about don't go out and buy the high end stuff. Don't go out and just buy stuff either. That's another thing that people will do. I've seen it. I've had a couple people that are like newer that I've talked to out at ponds that they go out and they buy gear. They don't know what to get. And they just buy stuff. They heard from a buddy that this is the best rod. They heard from another buddy that this is the best reel. They heard from a buddy that this is the nicest stuff for cheap, whatever it is. They'll go and buy a bunch of stuff and then try to put it together. I've seen guys with baitcaster rods with spinning reels on it. I've seen guys with spinning rods with baitcasters on it, and it's, don't look at me like that. That one was just a makeshift, okay? We were doing it just to get a rod in the water, all right? We had to have something, and I Jimmy rigged it, okay? It works somewhat.
Says the man who has a spinning reel on a baitcaster rod.
Last 4th of July, we had more people show up than we anticipated, and I did not pack enough rods for the event. We will not make that same mistake this time. But yeah, essentially, I was just trying to get something out, and I quick fixed something. And again, it functions, but it's not what it's designed for. And it looks, crimes I say. I know, right? It's a sin. See, and this is why I'm telling you this, is because I'm speaking from personal experiences too. It's you don't want to just put stuff together. Okay, you want to make sure you do your research and figure out what you want and what you need and how much in a budget you can put into it. Because I'll tell you right now, fishing is an addiction. That poor rod. I know. I fixed it. Okay, I've fixed it. Okay, it's been taken off. It's now just waiting until I get another spinning reel to put it on, and then I'm gonna probably end up putting a different bait caster onto that one. The funniest part is that caster rod. You sit here and call it a bait caster rod, but it is a bait caster, but it was a combo, and it had one of those enclosed bait casters, one of those Zebcos on it initially. But that thing fell apart, piece of crap. Finally died out, and so I just Jimmy rigged something together to make it work. Shut up! How dare you talk to me like that? Disrespect. Um, but you're right. Yes, I made the mistake, but it was to get a line for somebody to use, but had to had to rig something together. Also, be aware of the kind of baits that you use. You need to understand and know what kind of fish are around because you don't want to go throw in um, a salt bait. Let's use this for an example. No, this one is not something that I have done, so don't sit here and start pointing fingers at me like I've done this. But you don't want to go throwing some massive salt bait on a pond full of bluegill. Put it that way. The same way you don't want to rig up the tiniest hook you can with a cut bait that's designed or that you're designing to catch a big fish because number one, it's going to gulp it, he's going to eat it, and you're going to end up damaging or harming or even killing that fish. In fact, when we were out at Susan, I was running my rooster tail and I pulled in a fish, a bluegill, that somebody had set a hook that was too small for the bluegill, and they weren't setting the hook on the lip of the bluegill when they bite. They just let the thing run with it, and this poor bluegill ended up basically gutting the that tiny hook. It
Yeah, we're
seems
still in
sus.
his
He had to
gills.
say that. No, no, it's not sus. It's just I took my lickings for my little Jimmy rig, but I have not salt. I have not done anything crazy like that. Um, but the bluegill ended up gutting that hook, and I don't know if you know this, guys, but that little bluegill ain't gonna poop out that hook. All right, that's gonna be inside that fish until it dies, which
Yeah.
is probably gonna be moderately soon because that poor fish is not gonna survive with that. So,
No, because
and
it was
then
stuck in his gills, and that line was still coming out of his gills
out of his
because you could see
gills.
where somebody had cut it.
So, even though the pond and I conferred with the DNR before not yeah the DNR and the conservation before I made any decisions. Um, I conferred with them about it. Well, the way this one was set, this fish wasn't going to make it, bro. I know that hooks will rust out in about a week, but the way this one, it wasn't going to be good for that poor fish. So I conferred with them about it and explained the situation. Even sent in a photo to them, and they were like, "Yeah, you can go ahead and pull that one. Use it for bait, whatever." Because most of the ponds that we go to, it's like you cannot take live fish for bait from their ponds. Um, so we conferred with them. They said, yeah, it's fine. We took it out, gave it to a guy who was getting ready to go do some catfishing, and I'm assuming, dispatched the fish and ended up using it as cut bait for his fishing trip that night. But those are some of my do's and don'ts. Another thing is don't wear your good shoes if you plan on going to the riverbanks or things like that.
Or a spillway.
Yeah, I wore my church boots, and I get a little closer. You can't get any closer than that. But
Can.
but yeah. Make sure that that you're aware of that. Also, if you're going out in the brush, especially this season here in Missouri, ticks have been
Awful.
awful. Um, Make sure that you're wearing proper attire for it, and bring water. I'm aware you're back.
Yeah, Tyler. Stay hydrated,
Mountain Dew has water in it.
but it will also dehydrate you.
Um, and then lastly, before we close things out, because we are coming down to the end of our time, we just wanted to touch on. We didn't get to do our fishing
Yes.
stories this time, but we'll save that one for episode 3. We'll talk a little bit about our history of fishing and what got us into it. Hydrate or dehydrate. I am well aware. Why do you think I have a water on my desk? I've been hydrating. So we're just going to go ahead and get into the last little bits, and then we'll touch on episode 3. We'll talk more on the fishing histories and some other things on that one. We're going to touch base about the 4th of July event again. We are going to narrow down our spot. There is a poll on the YouTube channel now. If you do plan on coming, and you are 100% probably coming, please mark yes, I'm coming. If you're not coming, mark no. And if you're out of state, like if you're watching from another state, Galahacks, I left a little piece in there for you as well to say, hey, I'd love to come, but I'm too far away. That way we know where everybody is roughly at on this. We want to kind of get an idea so we can start figuring out how much food we're going to need for the barbecue, things of that nature, how many rods I'm going to need to prepare for this event. Other than that, be sure to check out our merch store that has the new 4th of July Fish-a-thon gear. If you decide you want to get yourself some cool merch for the Moe Fish, everything that you do, any of the money that comes through that, which isn't honestly much, we don't make much off of the merch store, but we just want to get more of our brand out there for you guys to have and check out. But the money that we make through that actually just goes back into funding things like the 4th of July fish-a-thons and goes into the community itself. We don't use it for our own personal gain. In fact, I was going to talk with Alex and Chris that when that stuff comes time and we do end up with some money coming in, we're going to make some contributions back to the conservation, because that's one of our biggest things. Keeping the waters clean, keeping your areas clean, clean up after yourself. If you're cutting line off to change baits and you're just throwing line around or laying hooks on the ground, that's a danger for other wildlife and other people. So just be sure to clean up after yourselves while you're out there fishing. It's just good practice. The more we teach that, and especially as we teach it, especially to our younger generations that go out fishing, that sets a precedence of what needs to be done for future generations and hopefully continues on. If you're not already following or subscribed, please feel free to subscribe. We are so close to our first 100 subscribers on YouTube, so it'd be awesome to hit that first 100. We are shooting for, what did we say, 300 by the end of the year? Was that our goal for the
1,000?
1,000 for the
You
for the
said
trip?
1,000.
Did I say 1,000 for the trip?
Yeah.
Okay. 1,000 by the end of the year. If we can actually hit that, I told the guys that we would plan out a trip to the Ozarks and do a special stream all the way out in the Ozarks. That's a good 4 or 5 hour drive for us.
Yeah.
To get to the Ozarks, so that's going to be a bit of a trek. Probably be a couple days stay. I might even try to make it where I take the family out there so the kids can experience Lake of the Ozarks as well. But yeah, aside from that, if you're not following on our social media pages, it's in the bio. We've got our Instagram, our X, our Patreon is up, this will be posted to the Patreon after this as well. That's all free. I don't have memberships or anything set up on Patreon. Again, we're not trying to haggle people for money, and this isn't for money. This is educational and for fun. And then lastly, the Discord. I got told this last time, and we fixed it very quickly. The Discord link was not active. The Discord link is now active. If you want to join our Discord, share your fish stories with us, talk with us, things of that nature. That's the quickest way to get to us. My email is also on there for the Moe Fish. If you want to reach out to me about setting up events, anything of that nature, we have access through that email to communicate with you guys on setting up particular events. We had a young boy want to invite us out to his birthday party, and he wanted us to it's a fishing birthday party, and he goes, I'd love for you guys to be there. And I told him we would try. Gave the information over to his aunt, and if she decides that she wants to reach out, or if it's cool with the parents, because I don't want it to be really awkward, a couple old men showing up to a kid's birthday party for fishing, but come out there and help them out. I'm always for it. Um, but yeah, um, that's pretty well it, guys. We thank everybody that's a part of the community already for being a part of this. It's awesome. 98 people is a big thing for us. That's a big step. We like that you guys are coming out and checking us out and hanging out with us. We love chatting with you guys down by the water as well. Getting to hear your fish tales, talks about where you fish, stuff like that, and sharing information. I had a gentleman I was, talking with yesterday that he's been out of the game for fishing for years, and he's now got his grandkids. He's coming out there fishing, and um, he's like, I'm just, it's a lot different than what it used to be. With some of the gear that they use and the setups. I end up giving him one of my float rig setups and getting him set up, and walk back by him later. He goes, I caught a catfish. I'm like, see, there we go. He was very appreciative, about, teaching him some information about fishing, how to fish these certain waters and whatnot. And it was it's the whole point of what we do this for. That, and we love fishing. But the whole point of this is just to kind of get out there and help build the fishing community a little bit more, get people more engaged with fishing, especially younger generations, so they're less inside on their butts and a lot more outside enjoying nature and what it can bring, and teaching them skills that could potentially help them in the future where maybe they decide they want to catch and eat fish, or need to. It's a skill that you want to keep in your back pocket. um but yeah, that's pretty well all I've got. Chris, you got anything else you want to add before we close out?
I do. I have one thing that I have not run by you yet because I wanted to surprise you with this as well
This
because the
scares
rule
me.
will also apply to you.
This scares me.
To any of our followers, if you can at the time show us that you are following and you come out to one of our events or you come out to a Wednesday fishing trip with us and you can catch over a 15-pound catfish, I will not shave the beard, but I will completely shave off the mustache and go just full Amish beard for whoever catches that 15-pound catfish out with us. My wife just said, no, I won't, but trust me, yes, I will. I will go straight goofy and I will shave just the mustache off. If you can come out with us to help us create some content and you can catch over a 15-pound catfish, I don't care that you're not okay with it. I'm doing it
I'll
for
do
the
you one.
lulz and for the content.
I'll do you one better. I'll shave my head again. If they
I
can
won't
come
go
out,
there.
I say, I know
This
you won't. I know.
this is too much.
If they catch a big one, I'll shave my head bald. I'll pick it
All
all
right.
down.
So there's a thing. So if you can come out and help us create some content for the channel and it is over a 15-pound catfish, I will shave my mustache and Tyler will shave his head.
But have some fun with it, I guess. Yeah, that sounds like fun. Um,
It's a fun way to get people to come out and fishing with us more and to get
fair,
a little bit of content for the channel.
fair. Alrighty. Other than that, guys, thank you again to everybody for coming out. Whether you're here in the live chat, or if you're watching this and you comment later on, or if you're subscribed to the channel, or you're just coming in and checking us out, we appreciate you guys for giving us your time of your day. We know you got a lot of things you could be doing with it, but coming and hanging out with us, it means a lot to us. So we appreciate it truly. And until next time, Chris, you know what's about to happen.
What?
We'll catch you later. Take care, everybody.